Good morning, everybody in Facebook land. So, yeah, last night, definitely I was hungry. Actually, I wasn't hungry when my husband came home. And so, because I took a nap yesterday afternoon and I had a little bit of food before I went to sleep, before I took a nap. So, it was interesting because I was extremely energetic the last couple days. And then it was just yesterday that I needed to take a nap. I'm like, okay, well, it's fine. And so my husband came home like around 4. I was really groggy waking up, but I did. And I know he was hungry, so he made himself actually a few hamburgers. And I just snacked on some kind of cheese type of thing. But actually around 10 o'clock last night. But it was around, 1:30 to, actually, my dog woke up around 1:30 and had to use the restroom. So I took her out, and then she was downstairs for a minute. But, and she peed out there, but evidently, I guess she had to pee again. And so I have some pee pads laying down here on the floor. My husband's like, what the hell? But I'm like, if I take her out and I think she's done peeing and pooing and whatever, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna just sit out there, and we don't have a doggy door. So I bring her inside and she does her little circuit, and I guess she had to pee, which is fine. That's why I have the pee pads. There's a reason why. And so anyway, so she came upstairs and finally lay down, but I started coughing. Like I was coughing, blowing my nose, and actually coughing like really hard. And so, my husband came home. Now, did he bring something home? Potentially, but I was actually already feeling kind of weird anyways from the wind and all that and from the storms. So it's like when I am feeling this is the thing. You know what a healthy person is? When you think about it, a healthy person is a person's ability to gauge and feel how aggressive the environment is at the time that it's aggressive and reconcile with the energy as it comes and not save it up to be like a July 4th fireworks later on. That's what healthy is. Now, someone else will be like, no, healthy means that you're cured, you don't feel anything, you're able to do your job and party and do whatever, and then go out with a bang and pass away sometime down the road, like, in the future. And there is no telling when that day will be. And this is why religion has then said, okay, you never know when God's going to take you back or whatever. It's up to God. Only God knows when you're going to pass away. That's if you play that game of not wanting to feel the environment. So I just think about every single time I cough and blow my nose and I'm blowing out mucus and sneezing and whatever, when someone says bless you, that means that I got rid of an entity that would have taken over at some point in time. That would have been my undoing. And that would have been, on a lesser of a person. What does it mean, lesser of a person? A person who already has so much of that incubating inside, that one mucus ball, that one exposure could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And so, now could I afford to be cured right now? Could I afford to do so much J juice and cure myself and not feel the environment? I probably could, but I don't see a need to, because I actually find the value and the benefit of strengthening my diaphragm, knowing my alimentary canal, getting into the habit of reconciling with the environment, with the gifts that are being given to me at the time that they're given to me without trying to save it up. Because it's not like I need to be out there. If I had to be out there and I was forced to be out there for whatever reason, working in the public, then I could probably play the game of being cured. But then I would have to save up so much money and put that money aside maybe like a year, like before, like when I retire. And I would deal with being sick a little bit on the weekends and play that game. And then when I retire, I would have to then reconcile with everything that I took a cure for. I would have to reconcile. And that's a lot of reconciliation. That's a lot of payback. And so rather than owing Mother Nature, at some point in the future, and that energy is so aggressive, I'd rather keep making the payments, to her on a daily basis. And so then I'm thinking about all the Wiccan and the Western witches and all that, and I'm thinking like I never really researched where Wiccan came from, but since I've been doing so much of the YouTube searches on just on Wiccan and witches, of course through my news through my feed, since the algorithms are picking up every searchable text that I put in there, something came through about the first Wiccan, how Wiccan was coined. I mean, it's not like witches just was invented back in the 1940s by a dude. No, they weren't called witches way back in 5,000 years ago. They were called alchemists, okay, alchemy. But the actual term witch and Wiccan was probably pretty recent. And that's how modern man is able to identify a type of practice. And the practices weren't necessarily super organized, or they were probably organized, but didn't want to call themselves like a witch, because that has a connotation, like, you know, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. And so to call yourself a witch would have a lot of baggage. So there's a lot of like priestesses and priests and wizards and warlocks. And maybe you would see something about a witch, you know, every so often, which has a pejorative context to it. And the occult and, you know, different nature worshipers, you know, and so then I guess at some point, and this actually was during the time the guy in Britain that came up with the term Wiccan and then paganism and became celebritized, you know, he then made it part of the mainstream as an acceptable type of religion, a form of, you know, acceptable alchemy. But you know that Disney, who, you know, way back in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, Disney also used the terms witches because you see what his movies were about. It's about black magic, white magic, and there really isn't like a real difference between black magic and white magic. It's all in how you convert the energy and the intention. And so even if someone practices white magic on you or black magic on you, if you're strong enough, you can convert the energy. If you're not strong enough, then whatever someone else's intention is on upon you will be realized. And that's extremely important to understand in this world, especially when you're surrounded by 19 different witches. And some are cult leaders, others are gurus, others are, you could say, yogis, but they wouldn't necessarily call themselves a witch, okay? But since you're surrounded by so many people casting spells, doing chants, so what do you mean casting spells? Well, you know, ritualistic chanting, you know, and it could be something from the scripture, or it could be something that they're singing because somebody has taught them that the only way to express yourself is to sing. And so when you're being constantly surrounded by people casting spells, and it could be political too, then you have to learn how to convert that energy. And you have to know how to take that energy and use it to your benefit. And you turn it into something that's going to be beneficial to you. And that's why I have that Confucius statement on there that says, you know, never be friends with someone that's not better than you. Okay? Always be friends with someone who's better than you. But what does that mean, be friends with? Because if the other person thinks that they're better than you, they're not going to be friends with you. Even though you want to be friends with them, you think they're better than, you know. So then you always have people who just not want to be friends with each other because they think they're better than each other. Okay? Which is interesting. And so then it's not really being friends with someone that's better than you. It's taking people's information who is smarter than you, who has like my husband is smarter than me in the area of like CB radios and electronics and fixing cars and understanding, you know, HVAC stuff and or landscaping and or mowing the lawn. And so I married someone who is completely smarter than me in that area. And so then what I do with his information, when I ask him questions and he answers them, I convert it to my benefit. I tuck it away because someday I'm going to need whatever information he has around keeping up a house. Because I've never had my own house before. He's had his own house before he met me, but I never did. So learning how to keep up a house and all that stuff is, you know, as far as the inner workings and the plumbing and all that is something that I'm learning from him. And then, of course, he's learning from me about certain stuff. Okay, so it's taking somebody's information that you have absolutely no idea about, never researched, never really bothered to research, or superficially researched, or only researched one perspective. Then you want to be able to take on someone who's smarter than you, which means someone who has another perspective, and then take that information and convert it to your benefit. It's not like my information is going to be better for the world. No, not everybody can handle doing the JJ meta mentality or deal with the pain that goes along with it. But if whatever aspect of my information resonates with you, then take it and convert it to your benefit. And that's what I really think what Confucius means, because you don't want to be glomming onto someone that you think is smarter and then you're worshiping them. That's the danger, the fine line between glomming onto someone that you think is better than you, smarter than you, and then you end up losing yourself, and then you worship them, and then you turn into them. No, you want to take their information, keep your own autonomy, and convert the information. And so I don't know to what extent all the different religions out there are able to do that. Most people can't, because for them to even think about that the Constitution might change, that the Constitution is a living document. That's why there's so many amendments. You have your base, information in the Constitution, and there's so many amendments. Why were the amendments? Because they had to change with the times. But could you tell somebody that, okay, so now you have the Second Amendment, right? Well, that was an amendment. So if an amendment can be an amendment to the Constitution, then an amendment can be amended, right? But that's the thing. That's the dogma. That's someone's inability to realize that sometimes things have to change. Or sometimes you have to look at a different perspective when the times have changed, when people's behaviors have changed, when the culture has changed. And so the ability to convert information on bodies at a deficit is so extremely hard that I understand now why the New World Order, the Georgia Guidestones, and the Freemasons, the Rosicrucian Order, I understand why they're doing what they're doing. Because there's so many people who have the inability to convert energy, and they're dependent upon an authority figure for basically every single aspect of their life, for every aspect of their life. What do I need my government for? And what do I need any of the agencies for? If my house catches on fire, it's good to have a fire department. If I'm really being accosted by a bunch of gang members in my area and they want my house, then I can call the police, but I'm not going to go fight, a whole gang. And I need my government to make sure the water is relatively clean, and I have relatively clean air, and I have electricity and internet, and that's about it. I don't need my government as far as healthcare, and I need my government to do the food, to grow the food and give me a diverse food supply so I could feed myself and be a contributing member. But that's about it. I don't need my government for healthcare, for any kind of therapies, or anything like that. I produce, I support my infrastructure, we pay our taxes, and so there is an equal exchange of energies, and I'm not taking more from the system than I'm willing to give. And that's really what it comes down to right now as far as the government and the people. There are people who are taking more from the system than they are actually contributing to. And that comes from a lot of the dogmas and the inability to convert energy. And when you have the inability to convert energy, then you're just going to keep consuming until there's nothing left. And that is dangerous when Mother Earth can only give so much, when her children are cannibalizing her. Okay? And so the whole thing with Wiccans and witchery and all that is them using the elements to counter forces, but they're not, it's like, again, you're developing and creating new spirits, new entities. Because what happens in the Wiccan world of alchemy and casting spells, not just words. Yes, words create worlds, and it converts worlds, and it also develops chemical reactions. And what are those chemical reactions? Well, it's all based upon intention. And then all the get spells and the gifts and the desires of people who have hormonal deficiencies and hormonal imbalances then take on extreme negative and positive properties that develop new spirits. And then those new spirits turn into new viral pandemics. And then also it changes the weather because of the heat and the energy. And then it also then causes a lot of chaos in people. And then they are at the surface very violent and also extremely intolerant to anything new. And so that's, and that's a lot of the cultures out there. I'm telling you, the Eastern culture, when I think about the East Indian companies and the spice trade and the Silk Road and all the things, the opium dens from the antiquity, that's a lot of also where the Wiccan and the alchemy derive from. Because who was doing all the spice trade and all the different, when you think about the Hindu religion in India, a lot of spiritual stuff, a lot of different religions. And then, but then you look back at the six cradles of civilizations. I mean, it was the Indus Valley, India. It was Mesopotamia, so the Middle East. And it was, like Peru and the Incas, and then the Aztecs, which is parts of Mexico, or all of Mexico. And so there's a lot of occult magic. And that does then translate to the corporate world of pharmaceuticals. And then playing with the different proteins that have the different viruses, that have the innovation, the gifts that people need to reconcile with and pay back Mother Nature for those gifts. And if they don't, this is why then people age. If you're taking from Mother Nature, she'll keep taking from you. And that's, I don't know how I don't think that's even understood in the Wiccan world, or you wouldn't see people who are witches aging. That's the thing, is the Wiccan, wizard, warlock, witch world is all about taking, but are they giving back to themselves? Are they giving back to society? No, because they're aging. When you're aging, you not only are you taking, but Mother Nature's taking back what was hers. Mother Nature always gets a return. That's what I totally get from the Walking Dead. When that black guy that was the zombie killer, and he was fighting with the protagonist, he was part of that group. And he says, everything gets a return. If you're taken from Mother Nature, Mother Earth, and you're just constantly consuming, trying to use the black magic, white magic, pharmaceuticals, and you keep trying to get all your wishes and your desires to be cured and go out there and consume with absolutely no regard, then guess what Mother Nature does? She keeps taking your life force. And that is the aging process. So are the witches and the Wiccans and the warlocks and the wizards doing anything for mankind? No, they keep taking from themselves. They keep taking from their patients, their customers. They're not giving anything back to anyone, not even themselves. And then even a person who doesn't think of themselves as a witch, maybe they're religious, or they're Catholic, or they're Christian, or they're Jewish, or they're Muslim, and they're aging, they're still taking. Why are they aging? Because they never gave back to themselves. And just because you gave money to a charity isn't giving back to Mother Nature. See, the money is the smoke and mirrors. The currency is the smoke and mirrors. The real true fact of it is, if you are giving back to Mother Nature, you're coughing out those demons. You're coughing out all that stuff that you were exposed to, all the gifts that she gave you. Whether it was the food, the air, the water, the innovation, the access to opportunities. And last night, I gave back to Mother Nature. I was coughing out so much mucus. Because my husband gave me a bunch of gifts. Because he came from the road. He came from the world that has so many swirling, mutating viruses, that I get the gift of feeling. And then I get smarter. And so I cough out. I cast out the demons. It sounds very weird, but not really. See, people don't understand what happens under the skin. Yeah, they see, stuff from the biotech, and biotech under those electron microscopes can show you, oh yeah, that's what a cell does and it replicates. And you can see it happen in time-lapse photography. And then maybe you might watch an operation if someone's allowed to videotape it, which is really gory. But when you think about, a surgeon, going in and cutting into somebody and doing a heart valve replacement or some kind of bypass surgery, they don't have electron microscopes. All they're doing is identifying the different tissues and the different things to go and cut into and then fuse together over here and then train the body to heal it in that way and take on, any kind of implant, transplant, or whatever. And sometimes it can be fatal when you're dealing with open heart surgery or any kind of surgery. So you don't really see what goes on under the skin except for just there's the organ, there's the blood, there's a bunch of tissue. But as far as microbially at the micro level, you don't see what goes on. And if people don't want to feel these viruses coming through, and they're cured, whether it's on the J juice or any other remedy or detox, okay, then you won't know what's going on under the skin until your last breath, until you don't wake up. Like last night, if I was a lesser of a person, what does that mean? If I was a weak, immunocompromised person, and I didn't have the strength of my diaphragm to cough out the mucus, I probably could have drowned in my own mucus yet again, or suffer a heart attack or stroke if I had that predisposition. And that's what debt is. Debt is you're at a deficit. That's what Mother Nature is doing to people. That's why Mother Nature is both the devil and the angel. You understand now the allegory behind the black and white checkerboard of the Freemasons. Yeah, it's balancing both. Your bank account. Your bank account is the resources in your body. And when you keep getting the cures and the therapies, trying to delay the inevitable and hold back the payments, then Mother Nature will keep taking from you, but it'll happen in a gradual period. It's just like, when you're getting, what is it? I forget that term. When the government goes in and takes money from you because you have to pay back something. Okay? And it's a court-ordered thing that they take, $100 a month out of your account because you owe like a credit card company or you owe somebody or something. Student loans. And so that's what Mother Nature does. She says, I'm not going to give you the option to pay me back. I'm just going to keep taking. I'm going to keep taking from your resources. And that's the aging process. And so the Wiccans and the witches and the warlocks don't understand that. Could you be a witch and reverse the aging process and understand the actual balance of plus and minus and not consuming so much and not granting someone's every desire and wish through pharmaceuticals or concoctions or remedies or alchemy? I wouldn't call you a witch. I'd call you now a human being who understands what it means to live on this earth. See, in my opinion, this is my opinion, witches who practice white magic or black magic, it's all relative to what your intention is, what your perceived intention is. You're not understanding balance. You're making money off your fellow man. You're exploiting your fellow man. And so whether it's black or white magic, it doesn't matter. If you're not balancing your own bank account, your own resources, and not like temporarily see, here's the thing. There's going to be inventions in biotech where they're going to take, your skin DNA and do a 3D printing of your own ear and then fuse it back. Okay, that's fine. Will your ear stay? I mean, that's biotech doing something like the Scarecrow and the Tin Man, where they develop different body parts in the lab, and when you're born without one, okay, they can put you together. Okay, I get it, but it's still then at some point, every single surgery, every single thing you've done after you got out of the womb, until you actually feel the pain of earning the body developing itself like that, you're still under a cure. You're still going to be subject to Mother Nature taking from you because you never went through the pain of regenerating. Even if you were born without an ear and you get it grafted to your head after the fact, it doesn't matter. Did you earn that ear? Oh, I paid for it. Okay, but that's different. That's not actually paying Mother Nature and earning your way of getting that ear, your eyes, your nose, your mouth. And that's the thing about the Julie Just Meta mentality. It's not buying body parts and then regrowing them without feeling anything. The whole JJ Meta mentality is that if you had your tonsils taken out because you didn't want to feel the infection, well, when you're doing the J juice and you're bringing up stuff, and then you get off the J juice at some point, and then you feel like the sore throats and all that, and you're feeling the infection and all that, and you have to cough it out, and you're gonna have soreness because when you're growing organs back, which is possible. Some people don't even know they grew it back because they never got any tests, but they grew it back after their surgery. Whatever that is, it could be a very small organ. They don't know. It's gonna be painful. Okay? That's the thing, is that's why you don't want to be born at a deficit. Because to level up to this society, to level up is painful. And so that's why it's not prudent to have a baby at a later in life if you haven't reconciled with Mother Nature and given back the abilities that you didn't have because you lost it through the aging process. Now your kid's going to be at a deficit and they're going to have to level up, and it's going to be painful. And some kids will not level up. They will be cured in the state that they're in at a deficit, in debt to Mother Nature. And then Mother Nature will take her due. And so you have to understand that there is the front of the house transactions, which is all the banking system. That's the front of the house transactions, but there is Mother Nature's transactions that people do not understand. And again, biotech has figured out a way to be Mother Nature's transaction, to go and play with proteins and viruses. Okay, innovation is one thing. I understand innovation, but prepare people for the innovation. Don't then tell them, well, if you don't want to feel this virus, here, go take this therapy, and then, it'll counteract this. And then what happens is the body spits out another mutation because it's under attack. Yes, it's under attack because something is trying to counter it and attack it. Remember, viruses need a host. You're the host. But then you then develop another wave, another pandemic from that counterattack. And that's what people who invest in biotech don't understand, because they're only looking at the front of the house smoke and mirrors and the marketing, but they don't understand Mother Nature has her own transactional, she has her own ledger. And so I give back to Mother Nature daily. I give back to Mother Nature daily. You know how I do that? I cough shit out. I blow my nose. And while I'm doing that, when you think about it, and I'm writing and trying to find a way to convey this in the easiest way possible for people to get it, because there's two sides to this world. Again, there's the front of the house and there's the back of the house. Most people don't want to know the back of the house because it's just too much for them. So it's easier to live in the front of the house and play the games that are being played out there. But I'm telling you, the other side of it is Mother Nature's transaction. And that's what the aging process is Mother Nature, the devil, is taking his due. And she siphons off energy from people through the viruses. She works through all the viruses, even the ones that have been programmed to attack for whatever reason. It could be just because someone used a medicine to lower their immune system because they have a transplant. That was my my theory about where AIDS came from, is that we have a lot of people who have transplants, and so they have to take, anti-immunity or anti-whatever against their immune system to lower their immune system. And in turn, that then spits out different viral programming that goes and attacks an immune system. Because now you have that programming. Anytime you develop a pharmaceutical against any natural mechanisms of the body, that now becomes an attack against a person's body. Not only the person that is taking those pharmaceuticals and those therapies, but then also it's laced into their mucus that then is put out there in the atmosphere for someone else to go and reconcile with. And so that's why oncology and all the therapies and the pharmaceuticals has caused so much of these pandemics. And then, of course, all the different, therapies and stuff for the animals. Animals get exposed to human stuff, and they have to go and convert the energy. Your pets do and everything. My dog is amazing right now because she is releasing mucus out of her back end when she needs to. She feels the energy. Sometimes she whines a little bit, at night. At the same time that I have to feel stuff, she feels stuff too. She gets restless. But it's short-lived, and she's surviving. Is she a happy dog like those you see? She's not hormonal. She's not programmed. Now she's living. She is dealing with, here's the thing. People think that everything has to be happy. That you have to be happy. Your animal has to be happy. Your kids have to be happy. No. You got to be able to survive this. It's not about being happy, sad, glad, or anxiety, or angry. It's about matter of fact that we are in an aggressive environment and we have to really steel ourselves to deal with it. And it means that we have to reconcile with our own bank accounts and our body, as well as then have to figure out how to keep our dependents alive if they allow us to. Sometimes your dependents are like, 15 or 16 and they're like, screw you, mom, dad, I'm not listening to you. So you're hands off. But, I'm trying to keep my dog alive. My husband, I'm hands off with him because he has to deal with his own stuff himself. And so it's not about being happy or sad or mad or angry. It's about dealing with what is going on and knowing what it is. And again, there is the transactions of your front of the house world, which is society that you live in. That's a transactional basis. And Mother Nature has her own transaction, her own currency. And your energy is the currency, as well as what, in a society. But the money, the US dollar, any type of currency is representative of the energy that you had to exert to then to pay your way into this world. It's what you did to represent. So whatever mucus that left your body and whatever energy you expended, you should get paid for that. But can you eat money? No. So then you have to eat, and then you have to give back to Mother Nature by blowing your nose and coughing when you get exposed to new innovation, which is other people and all of their viruses. Not try to counter it, not try to cure it, not try to do any kind of therapy against it, because you can't resist your environment. The environment will cannibalize you. You have to assimilate and then also give back to Mother Nature. And I gave her a bunch of my mucus last night into my room. I wasn't out there, but I had to reconcile with. I paid my debt. Because my husband brought me the gifts called the viruses. He does, if he feels them, he feels them. He says his body aches all the time. I'm like, Jesus. Anyways, I'm gonna go, but I just want you to understand that even the witches, the Wiccans, the warlocks, the wizards, and they're playing with all the elements, they don't understand balance. If they did, they wouldn't be aging. No, the higher level witches, I guess, in our society trained so many lay witches to go and cannibalize each other and make money from it. Now you know. Now you have a chance to do better. All right, bye.